Hey everyone, John here. In today's video, I'm going to go over the difference between scripting and programming. For the last couple of months, I've been going on a journey and I've noticed that when I try to become a programmer, I get overwhelmed and demotivated. But yeah, there's actually a difference between scripting and programming. And in my opinion, not everybody who knows how to who is learning how to code has to become a programmer, right? Like imagine you're a domain expert in finance, for example. Do you need to learn how to build a web app? Do you need do you need to learn how to build a web app? You really don't, right? All you need to know is how to automate some parts of your job with code, and the way you do that is through scripting, right? But yeah, I think that's kind of what I realized is pretty much if you're learning how to code, if you start taking like programming courses, programming what do you call it? Just programming courses in general, or just taking a path towards programming, you might get demotivated because programming is actually really hard and it's a long journey. And my recommendation is to focus on scripting, writing small scripts, writing small functions to automate workflows at in your personal life as well as at work, and that's pretty much what's gonna eventually build up your skill set to the point where programming becomes just a natural progression versus really learning how to program from the jump. Maybe I'm kind of projecting because like my use case is very specific to just like automation, but I think automating the boring stuff, which is like a book, is really what you should be doing as a beginner. But yeah, let's go over what the difference between scripting and programming is. Um, Both scripting and programming involve writing code, but they have different purposes, execution methods, and typical use cases. So here's a breakdown. Definition: scripting refers to writing small programs that automate tasks, typically executed without compilation. Like I don't know if you don't need to know what the hell that is. Right? Don't even think about that, right? Like if you're watching my channel, you're either a full-on software dev or you're a full-on finance person. Like that's what I've noticed in my chat. That's really what I've noticed in my chat. Programming involves writing full-fledged software applications that often require compilation before execution. Um, so what is interpreted? So interpreted is just runs line by line, and then compiled basically transforms the code and turns it into machine code for execution, right? I kind of get it, but I don't know if you're watching this type of video, you probably won't get it, right? Because this is more catered towards like finance people rather than software devs. What's the use case of scripting? Task automation, system administration, data processing, web scraping, and automation as a whole, right? Programming is for software development, web apps, game development, and large scale applications, right? So think about your personal day to day. Are you developing a web app? Are you developing a game? Are you working on a large scale application? Really, like 90% of the people, I don't know what percentage of the population is software devs, but it's a small percentage. You do not need to know how to program. But I think that if you know how to script, it will be a huge benefit to you, right? Like, I mean, like VBA and all of those languages exist, but really, like a language like Python, which is a scripting language, could do VBA better than VBA, if that makes any sense, right? So like, let's say you're an accountant. Maybe you manually fill out Excel spreadsheets, learn Python and automate that task, and then pretend that you're working. You know what I'm saying? Like, that should be what your focus is on. Like, I think everybody needs to know how to write scripts. System administration. So, like, the funniest thing I ever experienced was like this one task to move around folders and organize like a folder. And I mean, like, I'm not saying we, but like basically one of the members of this organization literally went and dragged folders between folders. I'm like, dude, what the heck kind of, oh man, why? Why not just write a Python script to organize the folders, right? Um, Everybody should know how to script to at least manipulate folders, right? If you're within an organization that's kind of like large, you'll know that unless the file system is like the filing method is documented from the start, you're gonna have a messy filing system, honestly, and you should probably know how to write scripts to organize those files. Data processing, web scraping, and automation. Like, how many times at work do you just copy and paste from one Excel spreadsheet to another Excel spreadsheet? I just want to know. How many times do you, like, let's say you're not I'm not saying SQL is like a scripting language. It's more, I don't know what SQL is. It's not even like a programming language. It's just like you're telling a computer to like select these columns from this table where this field is equal to this, right? Or a column is equal to this. It's not really programming, but people who are really weak at SQL, I've noticed what they do is they pull like SQL queries and then index match the tables in Excel. It's like, what are you doing? Like, learn how to do a left join or right. Like, learn how to do a join. You know what I'm saying? And beyond that, maybe you're not that good at SQL. You could probably easily write a Python script that does the index matching, that combines tables for you. Really, like, pandas is really just the best tool for that. And then that way, every time, like, you could probably use like a SQL alchemy, pull from the SQL database, bring it into Python, use pandas to combine the tables, right? And then if you wanna do that moving forward, it's like a click of a button. You just like run execute code, right? And instead of like opening a Excel spreadsheet, copy and pasting, like, oh man, everybody needs to learn how to script, and everybody needs to learn scripting. It's so annoying, right? Complexity, it's usually really simple. You'll find that things that you could do in Excel that takes literally hours could be done with like 10 lines of Python. It's unreal. You don't need to program. You need to know how to write enough code to script. Like, I'm just trying to hammer this home for all the folks at home. If you're like iffy about do you need to know how to code, I'm thinking honestly it's table stakes. It's like something. It's honestly table stakes. What are some scripting languages? So Python, JavaScript, Bash, Perl, and then some programming languages are C, C++, Java, Rust, and Go. Honestly, like, stick with Python. You'll be good for like 99% of like a non-coding job. Honestly. And then once you learn Python, I've noticed that I can easily generate code with Chatgpt and then refactor the code to make it work for me super easily after like 2 to 3 months of practice, right? And then I can kind of read JavaScript. I don't know, like I can kind of read HTML and CSS from just like web scraping. Honestly, like over time, I'm just like, okay, where am I pulling the like I can kind of read HTML, CSS, like over time without really any practice, just by practicing web scraping, right? Okay, in your day-to-day job, you do not need to care about performance, right? Like you're not a quant, honestly. And really, like most quant firms aren't generating the profits that you think. That's just my opinion. Um you don't need to care about performance as much as you think. Flexibility higher, as scripts can be modified and run immediately, and then programming more rigid but powerful for large scale software. Honestly, like think about what programming is. You don't need to become a programmer, right? Like if unless you're like a software dev, you do not need to be a programmer. But I think 90% of people will benefit if they know how to script. And specifically with Python, I guess this is like a Python sales course, or like a Python sales. But yeah, so Python can be used for both scripting and programming. So automating a repetitive task like renaming files, web scraping, probably like manipulating Excel spreadsheets. I've noticed that that's a pretty sick use case. Programming, building a full-fledged AI system or web app. So you could, there's like libraries like LangChain, LangGraph. There's like frameworks like Django, Flask that you could kind of like literally build a web app. But it, honestly, you could literally avoid. Don't even get into that. I swear, like I think what I'm thinking is I'm gonna write a bunch of scripts for to launch my AI company, and then once I get funding, I'm just gonna hire like a new grad to build me a web app. Oh man, that's pretty much what I'm thinking. Java, and who knows, like maybe at some point I've written so many scripts that I can just like naturally progress into programming, right? That's kind of where I'm thinking. And honestly, don't even so there's three main paradigms. There's like functional programming, there's object poop, Python object oriented programming, and then there's procedural programming, right? Like procedural programming was like the first, and then it became OOP, and then it became functional programming. That's kind of like the new hot thing apparently. That's from what I've been watching. But most functional programmers are actually just like procedural programmers. I just watch too much brain rot. But yeah, like you do not need object oriented programming if you are not a software developer. Seriously. Just write little small functions and then automate, make your life a little bit easier. Honestly, everybody should be learning scripting. And then you script long enough. I think if you script long enough, you'll become a programmer just naturally, right? C is a programming language where Bash is scripting, is used for automating system level tasks in Linux. Yeah, whatever. So which one should I focus on? Since my main focus is automation, scripting will be more useful in the short term. However, as your projects get bigger, so what my plan is, initially I wanted to make an equity research emailer. Initially, I wanted to pretty much just like do equity research reports and then just email it to people just as a hobby. But I really want, like, my main goal in 5 to 10 years time is have a data set or a training plan for future large language models to make them hedge fund managers, portfolio managers. I think that's what I want long term, right? Build up pretty much like a curriculum that I can feed into future large language models to make them a portfolio manager to manage my money or my clients' money. That's what my main focus is on, really is that. And I think right now making like equity research reports is like going to help me build up that curriculum to eventually train future large language models or future AI to become a portfolio manager, right? Because we're going to have like some really powerful pre-trained models, right? Like imagine a pre-trained model right now is, hey, you're coming out of high school, your IQ is like 100, let's say, right? You can take that pre-trained model and run it through a curriculum like maybe like finance, maybe the legal profession, maybe medicine, right? And obviously, like in the future, that's kind of where I see AI going. It's not like you have a model that can do it all. You're gonna have like very specific models. I mean, like people who are new to AI or people who are like hyping up AI kind of forget diminishing, like everything is scarce, including compute, right? Like even AI has a limit, right? And to have the best finance person, to have the best finance focused AI, I think you will need to eventually have a curriculum to train that AI. And I think the new meta is literally building curriculums to train future large language models and keeping that private to yourself, right? And that's what I want to do. I think that's what I want to focus on, and train and like building a curriculum to maybe like make money, right? Making large language models do side hustles for you, right? That'd be sick. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. And to get there, you need to learn scripting, right? Learn how to script and scripting will pretty much help you build the curriculum to up to a certain level. And then once the curriculum is big enough, you might need to become like a programmer, use object oriented programming and stuff like that. But to start with, building up the database, you only need to be scripting, right? But yeah, so my goal is really building a large AI driven system and learn programming concepts and design patterns, right? That's kind of my main goal. But yeah, that's just a public service announcement. You do not need to become a programmer, but you need to know how to write scripts. Okay? Learn how to write some scripts. I don't care if you're a new grad. I don't care if you're in high school. Learn how to write a little bit of scripts. That's something that I regret in life, is not learning scripting sooner. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. This one was a little bit funny. It's really a paradigm that I've been kind of like I've gone through some courses to the point where I'm like learning object-oriented programming. I'm learning data structures and algorithms, but at the end of the day, am I ever going to really care about that crap? Like, I'm not trying to become a software developer. I'm literally just trying to build like I'm a hobbyist, right? And at the end of the day, like learning the programming kind of it's honestly like the most dry crap. Like, unless you actually like it. But I really love the scripting stuff, like writing small automation scripts, updating a database, like collecting my own data set, and really building a curriculum for future large language models. Like imagine you made a curriculum for GPT-3 to make it like a semi-good finance person, right? You take that curriculum and train somebody with a little bit more talent, GPT-4, for example, you could probably make that person a little bit better, right? Now imagine like the new models, O3, O1, DeepSeek, Gemini. You take that curriculum that you've developed over time, you're gonna make a beast finance focused AI in like 10 to 15 years. That's running on your DGX NVIDIA machine. That's $2,000. You could replace your financial advisor that you're paying like 2% MER for $1,000,000. That's $20K per year, right? That's all I'm saying. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Until next time, bye.